Okay, this video is a movie review about Game Changers. Game Changer is one of these vegan documentary type movies, and specifically it's all about vegan diet is great for athletes. That's the claim the movie makes. By the way, there's some other famous vegan documentaries. One of them is Forks Over Knives. That's mostly eating a plant-based vegan diet to be healthy. The other really famous vegan documentary is What the Health. That one, out of all these three, I think that's probably the best one, What the Health. That's the most entertaining, I thought. I already know a lot about this stuff. But the Game Changers, I figured it was going to be just kind of, nice but boring. It's actually quite good. So Game Changers, yes, I recommend it. 4 out of 5 stars. All right, so what was it about? There was a mixed martial arts guy who had an injury, and he's the star character protagonist trying to figure out how to heal his injury faster. And the information he came across was that plant-based diet helps athletes to recover faster from an injury. And I think that's true. By the way, there's a really famous lady by the name of Ruth Henderson. She was a triathlete. She was in her 70s, and she was riding her bicycle, got hit by a car, and she had a comminuted, that means multiple pieces, fracture of her femur. And they told her she'd probably never walk again. She was competing in a couple months. So the reason I tell you that, that's pretty extraordinary. A 70-year-old lady healing a comminuted femur fracture in a couple of months. And what does Ruth Henderson eat? She eats a couple bowls of salad first and then an entirely plant-based meal, all their meals. But yes, there's a lot of evidence for incredible healing with plant-based diet. All right, Scott Jerick is a real famous endurance runner. Again, he switched to the plant-based diet. He had better energy. In his older years, Arnold Schwarzenegger is coming around to liking the plant-based diet. They showed plant-based diet bodybuilders. A female bicycle rider was able to continue her competitive career as a world-class athlete into her late 30s, 39 years old, and she was still winning competitions. Carl Lewis set some of his records and had the best years of his career after he became a vegan. He benefited from the advice of Dr. McDougall, a real famous nutrition doctor. But here's the one thing where I would maybe disagree with the film, okay? They had this one strong guy. I don't remember his name, but yeah, he was incredibly strong. He was a very impressive, strong guy, doing all these weightlifting feats. He carried 1,200 pounds on his shoulder. But I've seen other videos of this guy, gobbling down all this protein powder. And by the way, I recommend stay away from those protein powders. A lot of times they're contaminated with heavy metals. I've seen a significant number of guys going to kidney failure from taking protein powder too much. Your kidneys don't want that much protein. And so what am I saying? Meat actually can help a person to grow a little faster when you're trying to build muscle. There's a lot more leucine. It tends to be the rate-limiting step for activation of mTOR. mTOR is a mammalian target of rapamycin, okay? And that's it's like a contractor nutrient sensor that tells the cell when it can grow and divide when the nutrients are available. And the bottom line is meat provides those nutrients more abundantly than plants do. And meat also has more of an effect to increase insulin-like growth factor. I mean, what's the purpose of milk? To make that cow grow super fast and gain hundreds and hundreds of pounds. So what I'm trying to say is if you're 20 years old and you want to gain weight fast and build muscle and all that, I think there probably are some benefits to a strength athlete to still eating some meat in their younger years, okay, around the 20-ish age group, all right? But in terms of keeping your arteries open, once you're after 30, 35, my advice is no meat. And by the way, they did have some strength athletes. They had some pro football players that switched to a vegan diet and it helped them in their careers. Vegan diet is better because it's better for endurance and it keeps all the arteries open. It's better for performance. But for building muscle in a young guy to get big fast, that's what meat does. They showed a test tube where a person had eaten a high-fat meal and a regular meal. Okay, and the point being that when somebody eats a high-fat meal, you could see, looking at their blood, that the blood is much more turbid. You can't see through the test tube so well because fat makes blood more thick. It increases blood viscosity. It also increases the tendency of that blood to clot. And when the blood is thicker, like a milkshake instead of like water, the blood pressure has to increase to be able to pump that thicker blood. Very famous cardiologist by the name of Dr. Vogel. He's done a lot of research on, the brachial artery reactivity test. So you can put a tourniquet up on somebody's arm to diminish the blood flow to their arm distally from that point. And then when you raise the tourniquet, you see the rate at which flow increases in their arm. And the point is after you eat a high-fat meal, you have less reactive hyperemia, less reactivity, because if somebody's eating a high-fat meal, because the high fat decreases the ability of those arteries to vasodilate. A lot of times too, salt will do that because it's a major vasoconstrictor. It inhibits endothelial nitric oxide. It also will diminish potassium availability. Okay, what else? And by the way, this is a common theme. This is not some isolated thing. Anybody who studied nutrition in athletes knows plant-based athletes got a lot more endurance. The Tarahumara population, demographically, the same as the Pima. The Pima got separated from the Tarahumara. They're in northern Mexico, 1848, Mexican-American War. The Pima went to Arizona, living on the standard American diet, the SAD diet, and they got tons of obesity. They're very, very unhealthy. Tarahumara are still famous and can run, 100 miles in 2 days or more. They're world-famous ultramarathon runners. Garth Davis is a real famous bariatric surgeon, and he was having some weight problems of his own and health problems. He became a vegan, and he had so much energy he started running triathlons, and that's a common scenario. So bottom line, it's very entertaining. The Caldwell Esselstyn, the great nutrition doctor, he helped supervise some of this. So did Dean Ornish, another great nutrition doctor, and then the son, Rip Esselstyn, was in there. He was a triathlete, excellent athlete, and so Game Changers, I think it's a very good movie. And why is it called a game changer? Because people used to think that vegetarian, like when I was growing up, was associated in the 1960s, 1970s with somebody being like a hippie, wearing sandals, eating granola or something like that. It really was looked down on by athletes. But now, the vegan diet, with all these athletes and people who've had a lot of success with it, is now recognized as being an excellent choice for athletes. And the one caveat, I'd say a young, strong man, maybe go a little easy on the, not necessarily be 100% plant-based. But after that, I think it's the way to go. So that's it.